Alabama and Michigan face off the Rose Bowl. I'm going to be a little honest with you here, Joe. I'm surprised that Bama and Michigan go to the Rose Bowl instead of the Sugar Bowl. And Washington, for the first time in like 90 years, this will be the first time that Washington's ever played in the Sugar Bowl. But nevertheless, Alabama versus Michigan. Joe, when you look at this game, when you look at this preview, when you look at this playoff game, how do you see it going down?
This is going to surprise Alabama fans because after the past couple of weeks, and also I see the comments, guys. I see the comments. Joe the hater. Joe is the biggest hater, the biggest Alabama hater. Look, I don't like Alabama. I'm not going to hide behind that. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I like Alabama. But if I am evaluating this game and I'm trying to accurately predict it, I think that these two teams match up with each other very closely. I don't think that one team is significantly better than the other. They both have deficiencies. They both have significant strengths on their defense, their defensive line, at linebacker. I think that the one thing, and this is one of the few times that I think I've done this all year long, I have to give Alabama the edge because of Nick Saban. I have to give him the edge because Jim Harbaugh has had these opportunities multiple times now. And what have we witnessed multiple times when he stepped up in these situations and played against teams in the college football playoff? Last year was his best opportunity to reach a national championship. One could argue it was a Herculean task to beat Georgia 2 years ago, but to lose to TCU, a team that got their asses whooped by Georgia, a team that you should have beaten, and you failed. I'm really focused, and I know we're going to dive deep on some other things, but that right now is my main key for this game is that Jim Harbaugh's lack of success in the playoff is something worth noting and paying attention to.
Eye test time. You ready? Or not eye test time, blind reaction time. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Name this quarterback. One quarterback has 2,700 yards, 23 passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions. The other one has 2,600 passing yards, 19 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions.
I want to say JJ is the second one.
JJ McCarthy is the second one, but you wouldn't know that because a lot of people have said that Jalen Milroe, quote unquote, has been bad down the stretch. It's the complete opposite. Joe, I can make the argument, and I agree with you. Since the sign-stealing scandal news broke, offensively, Michigan has taken a step back, and they've specifically taken a step back in the passing game. Now, it's interesting that you look at the last 3 games for Florida State from a passing yardage standpoint, they still have more passing yards than J.J. McCarthy, okay, in Michigan. But the bottom line is, for me, is it's pretty simple. Look, I know that Blake Corum and the boys do a really good job at running the football. I know that offensive line is good. They have not seen a team like this. They haven't seen the green grass athletes on the outside of DB. Joe, you have Kool-Aid McKinstry that goes down. All they do is put in a kid named Trey Amos who goes stupid. I don't think they've seen a dude like Dallas Turner. I think Dallas Turner is the best edge rusher in the game right now. After what I've seen over the last 5 weeks, him leading in sacks, pressures, and QB hits is all that I need to see. By the way, in 3 of those matchups, potentially faced what we would say a first or second round offensive tackle. He's gone off. But Jalen Milroe is the reason, along with Nick Saban, to your point, is why I would push all my chips in, okay, for Alabama. Not only that, I don't know if this Michigan team's ready because I've seen Harbaugh in these situations, and he's lost. He's 1,000% lost. Everybody and their mama last week or Saturday, yourself included, I might add, but you weren't the only one. There was a lot of, don't cut your eyes at me like that, thought that Alabama was going to get their cheeks clapped. They didn't.
Yes.
They came out there. They established the line of scrimmage against a more physical football team than Michigan, in my opinion. Now, look, I think Michigan's got a better defensive line in the interior than Georgia does right now. I don't think it's going to stop anything because I watched the film the day of the Georgia game, and I saw Booker multiple times and Proctor on double teams getting to the second level and destroying dudes on Georgia. Like, they are getting so much better along the offensive line. Joe, there's not one category for me one area for me that I don't think Alabama's better than. Yes, look, I am going to get abused by Michigan fans but for saying this. If you had to tell me right now which quarterback I'm taking Jalen Milroe over J.J. McCarthy right now. J.J.'s last 3 weeks has not been that good. Again, since the sign-stealing scandal, Joe, we got to call it like it is. Offensively, they've taken a step back. They were, I think, top 45 in the country before that happened. And now when they're playing teams, they are struggling in the passing game. One last thing. Does Michigan really have a dude on the outside that can get open and be able to take on guys like Arnold, McKinstry, and Amos? Because I don't think they have the weapons on the outside to beat them.
So a couple things with that. I don't agree with your premise. I think that I'm leaning Alabama, but it's like 53-47. This is a slight lean. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Alabama is going to win this game. It definitely will be a close game. I really see and believe that this will be a close, hard-fought football game. I actually believe that Ohio State's defense is not that far off, if not very, very close to this Alabama quality of defense. And we saw the way that they were able to, one, establish the run and dominate the line of scrimmage in that game. Now, Zach Sinter did go down, which is why I'm a little bit concerned, but that offensive line is still really good at establishing the run and being physical up front. I understand the concern of not having really any receivers that you can rely on or feel comfortable getting open against that secondary because it's phenomenal. But I believe that their tight ends, especially Colton Loveland, who is a fantastic athlete, is going to be really pivotal for this game because he is a very underrated tight end and could be a huge piece in their passing game. One of the best tight ends in the Big Ten that doesn't get enough recognition. I think that there is a map and a possibility for Michigan to win this football game. And it's what I said the other day. What does help Michigan in this situation is that they're going to have the most athletic linebacker core and the deepest defensive line that Alabama has faced in the current state. Georgia came into this game with injuries, and were lighter than usual.
Say that again.
Michigan, in the current state of their roster of teams that Alabama has faced, has the most athletic linebackers and the deepest defensive line. Dude, they're rotating. Okay. They're rotating a ton of players. They have two full front groups that they rotate.
I disagree with that. I think it's Texas A&M. I mean, Joe, we got four first round defensive linemen on A&M's roster. Joe, we're about to talk about Walter Nolan. Is Walter Nolan a first round pick? Yes or no?
Yes, he's an elite football player, but I think that the Michigan defensive line is better coached and more consistent because I saw games where Texas A&M got ran on. There were games where
they're top 5 in rushing defense.
I know that they were, but they showed inconsistencies throughout the year, and I feel like Michigan's defensive line has been the epitome of consistency. They shut down every run game that they faced in the most important games, might I add, against Ohio State and against Penn State. So if anyone steps up,
of running the football well before they played Michigan, and you know that.
They also had games where Travion Henderson exploded for like 100+ yards. Against Wisconsin and other teams in the Big Ten. He had some pretty big games, dude. He had some pretty big games.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Wisconsin because I have their stats right here. By the way,
why
LSU plays Wisconsin in their bowl game. Did you know that Wisconsin rush defense is 44th in the country?
It's pretty good.
Oh, they're killing it. Yeah, they're killing it. All right, let me bring this up to your point where one point I do agree with you on. Okay, I do agree. Defensively, this could be, I'm not going to say best. I still give that to A&M. They're top 3. Like, I mean, I don't think that there's Bama has seen this type of D-line before. Maybe not the same. They've seen Georgia, they've seen A&M. They're battle-tested, right? Here's the thing for me. You brought up Ohio State, and I was so curious last night after we got off the show. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go rewatch that Michigan-Ohio State game. And I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah, okay, Michigan's getting a lot of, dirty yardage. They're not running the football at a high effective rate that I thought that, when you think of Michigan right now, they'd be doing. Blake Corum had the longest run of the day with 22 yards. Alex Orji had the 20-yard one, but that's not traditional of what they want to do. Joe, the biggest thing for me in that game is they ran the ball for 4 yards a carry against Ohio State. And what makes it different is Alabama can put 4 dudes on an island in their secondary and play man-to-man and load the box up, and J.J. McCarthy is not, I promise you, well, I'm not going to say is not, it would absolutely, what's the word I'm looking for here? Shock the ever-living hell out of me that if they had the dudes on the outside along with J.J. McCarthy throwing the football to beat Alabama, I cannot envision that happening. You know what they're going to do? They're damn near going to do what they just did to Georgia. They're going to load up the box, and they're going to play bump and run man-to-man coverage on the outside and say, beat us. Now, I think that Georgia, okay, does have some better weapons, a.k.a. Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey, okay, but I don't think that there are dudes on the outside. Like, for example, because Kool-Aid McKinstry is going to be back, all right? Trey is going to be there. The Terrion Arnold's going to be there. Joe, I get what you're saying, but the biggest differential, okay, in reference to what a team has not saw all year, Michigan has not seen a more complete team defensively than Alabama, because you can talk about Ohio State, but the problem with Ohio State, and when I look at Alabama, Joe, when I look at passing yards allowed, Alabama's top 25. They're top 25 in everything. Ohio State is not.
I don't think, though, that there is this wide gap that, like, they're going to be stepping into a situation that they've never seen before. Look, but here's the big difference, though.
They have not been. They're not more battle tested than Bama is.
I don't disagree with that. They played a really cupcake schedule. Like, we have to sit here and be realistic about this. But I still believe, though, that there is what hindered Georgia, as I talked about yesterday, that pissed Bama fans off, is I pointed out the injuries and the banged up receivers that were playing, and then them not having really any depth behind. Dylan Bell was the only guy that they had, and they covered his ass tight as hell. I don't see anyone on Michigan that's going to really get open. I think Loveland is going to be impactful and can have some really big plays. But the big difference is that as soon as Amarius Mims went out, they couldn't run the football, and they didn't have that identity. That has not been their identity all year long. They are not the same level of rushing team as Michigan is. And I think that I still saw, despite some of their offensive issues against Iowa, they still had success running the football and picking up big chunk plays against one of the better defenses in the country and in the Big Ten.
Though, Joe.
I know that they're not. But if they try to load the box and they want you to go hat for hat, one-on-one, and they're going to go single man coverage on the outside, if they're going to do that, if a team in the country that's going to find success barreling downfield, running the football, it's going to be Michigan. Michigan is the one team that has successfully done that when their back's been against the wall, that they've turned to it.
Did Georgia? Because you can make Georgia couldn't do it, and you can make the argument that both teams' best offensive linemen were out. You had the best offensive lineman for Georgia that went out. You have the best offensive lineman for Michigan that's out. And you know what Georgia could not do? Like, legitimately just couldn't do it.
But I know what you're saying. No, but I am answering your question. What I was just getting at is the fact that Georgia's offense has been a very balanced approach. Okay. So the minute that Amarius Mims goes out, they're not used to having to make adjustments and have to solely rely on running the football.
Yes, they did, because Mims missed 4 games on the year. That's
not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that when they can't connect in the passing game, they haven't had to make a heavy pivot like that. Michigan's been doing this all year. They did it against Ohio State, and they did it against Penn State. They have made the adjustment and said, you know what? We're just going to rely on the run game, and we're going to beat you with it. They did it against Maryland when they played a 4 game.
Bama. They can't. They're not going to be able to do that against them.
Let me counter this point. Has Bama faced a rushing attack this dominant all year long?
Yeah, it's called LSU.
they don't run the football the same way that Michigan does.
Sure.
They're not as an under center downhill.
Spreading dudes out and running the football has nothing to do with zone blocking schemes and the guard and center getting to the second level. When you're in that box, not a goddamn thing changes.
How did Alabama do against that offense, though?
Hold on. If you want to go there, not shit changes when you got the 6 guys in the box getting to the second level. Like it doesn't. And you know what? I really saw a better offensive line, in my opinion. The Georgia Bulldogs get bullied. Joe, they got Van Pran that's up there. They got the left guard that's going to be a first-round dude. And then the left tackle, I think that he's more of a little bit of a project, but he has been better. Whatever his name is. They have a better offensive line statistically in running the football. And, Joe, if I would have come out here and said Alabama would push one of these teams around, Michigan or Georgia, who would you have picked?
Wait, say if Alabama was going to –
If I told you that Alabama would push around one of these two teams.
You're not going to like this. I would have said Georgia.
Oh, well, I think you're smoking crack.
Wait, let me ask you this, though, and I was just trying to say this. What happened when LSU, who was the best rushing attack that they've seen, what happened in that game? Was that not one of the worst defensive performances? They shut them down.
The only reason that they ran the football was because of Jaden. By the way, the most effective rushing attack outside of a quarterback in the country going into that game against LSU was LSU at 7 yards a carry. 7 with their running backs and everybody else not named Jaden Daniels.
We have to though acknowledge that the weakest game that they played was against Jaden Daniels, and I know that JJ McCarthy is not anywhere near the same level of quality of quarterback.
But he can move.
He can move. And I wrote this down, and this is my final thought on this game. For Michigan to win, and again, I need to remind everyone, I'm still picking Alabama. But if Michigan finds a way to win, I will not be surprised. And it's going to require, and we've heard that JJ has been a little banged up or whatever he's been dealing with. We haven't gotten a lot of transparency on it. In a month, he'll probably be fully healthy. If he gives me the same quality of game that he had against Ohio State last year, we know that's in there. We know that's, he's capable of producing a game like that. He just hasn't replicated it this season. If he plays that way, they win the football game.
I don't disagree with you. If I said that I didn't say it was going to be a blowout.
No, I know. But you still said that you made it seem like Alabama's a guarantee to win, though.
But I didn't say that. I never came out here and said Alabama's winning guaranteed.
You hinted at it.
But I didn't say it. All right. Here's my final point. You ready?
Okay. Yes.
I've seen Nick Saban have a month. Good luck.
That's what I meant off the top. That's exactly what I meant.
Good luck. Okay, because Joe, arguably one of my better friends in this business. Okay, and what we do. He sent something to me on the iBlake that Saban's pissed. So all I'm going to say is I'm going to take the Tide by 10. And look, listen to me. To LSU fans that are in here. I have no pleasure whatsoever picking them. I'm just trying to be as real as I can. Like, I freaking hate picking them. I hate it. So just so we understand each other.
I think if they win, it's by 3 or 4 or something like that. I don't think it's by 10.
They clapping them Wolverine cheeks.
Make sure you check out Bet Online for all of your sports betting needs. For anything that I do betting related, I go on over to betonline.ag and I use promo code BELIEVE50. BetOnline has all of the latest updated odds for the NFL and college football seasons. Anything you need, whether it's futures, live in-game betting, no matter what, your football betting needs are met at BetOnline. And again, make sure you use that promo code BELIEVE50, BLEAV50 to get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts.